Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel GMB Show. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The Chase know-it-all Paul Sinha was beaten out by contestants Karen and Ian to a massive prize pot of £100,000, one of the biggest ever in the quiz show's history. Karen and Ian made it through to the final chase against Quizmaster Paul Sinha after several nail-biting rounds. And they couldn't have been more pleased at beating him to the punch, as Karen had just a single word to say in response. Paul had to get just one question correct to catch the contestants up, as host Bradley Walsh asked him, Leslie Manville played the widow Kathy in what BBC sitcom? He went with Last of the Summer Wine, but was unfortunately incorrect. Bradley said, "Stop the clock, that is wrong," and handed the question over to the contestants. They sadly seemed to struggle with defining a sitcom, as Ian suggested soaps including Coronation Street and EastEnders, with Karen commenting, "It's a comedy." They ended up getting the question wrong, both missing that the answer was actually Mom. But with just 1 second left on his clock, Paul was forced into a random guess without even hearing his last question, blurting, "Green." That was incorrect, and the clock ticked down, announcing Karen and Ian as the winners. "Bad luck," Bradley commiserated Paul, as Karen threw her hands in the air and shouted, "Yes!" Ian rushed to give her a hug, open-mouthed as they realized just how much cash they'd scooped. Karen whispered, "Oh my God," as Bradley said, "That was close." 6 attempts to push back, only 2 executed. The chaser needed 1. What did you guess at the end there? Green? The question turned out to be, what type of reptile is a Jackie dragon? And the answer was lizard. It's one of the biggest prizes in show history, with Ian and Karen scooping £50,000 each. Back in 2023, a trio won £120,000, getting £40,000 each after beating chaser Mark Labette. But the only other team to win £100,000 or more in the final chase was in 2018, when Gaina, Tim, Luca, and Diane scooped the grand prize of £100,000 between 4 of them. As for the biggest ever solo win, with only 1 player from the team making it through to the final, 20-year-old Eden won an incredible £75,000 against Dara Ennis after building up 18 steps against the chaser. It was a tense Thursday evening in the ITV studios. The lights dimmed, the audience held its breath, and host Bradley Walsh's trademark grin was just a shade wider than usual. This was no ordinary episode of The Chase. This was the kind of showdown that viewers would talk about for years. 3 contestants remained going into the final chase, but only one, a 31-year-old librarian from Bristol named Emma Hughes, had made it to the table with the full jackpot intact. And that jackpot, thanks to a daring head-to-head against the Beast, stood at a staggering £125,000, one of the largest solo prize pots in the show's history. "All right, Emma," Bradley said, leaning on the podium. 2 minutes, set the target, you're on your own, but you've got the nation cheering you on. Emma, her hands folded tightly in front of her, nodded once. Let's do it. When the clock started, she was unstoppable. Rapid-fire answers on Greek mythology, obscure 1980s chart hits, and cricket history poured from her mouth like she'd been born for this moment. By the time the buzzer sounded, she had racked up an impressive 21 steps, a solo target that made even the Beast raise his eyebrows. "Not bad," Mark Labette said, rolling his shoulders, "but I've chased down higher." What followed was a tense, nail-biting 2 minutes of pure television magic. The Beast stormed ahead, closing the gap with frightening speed. But each time he stumbled, tripping over a question about Japanese cinema or a 19th century prime minister, Emma was there with the correct answer, pushing him back. The audience gasped, Bradley grinned, and the clock ticked down until it hit 0. The studio erupted. Emma had done it. She had just become one of the Chase's biggest ever solo winners. Bradley threw his arms up and let out a laugh. "Emma Hughes, you've just won £125,000. How does that feel?" Emma stood still for a moment, almost as if her brain couldn't quite compute what had happened. The Beast offered her a rare smile and a congratulatory nod. Then, with the cameras zooming in and the crowd roaring, Emma finally spoke. Surreal. Just one word, but it said it all. Bradley burst out laughing. Surreal? That's it? Emma grinned, clutching her hands together. Yup, I can't. I don't think it's sunk in yet. I came here hoping to maybe take home a few grand. Now I can pay off my mortgage, travel, and still have a future security cushion. This is life-changing. Backstage, as the credits rolled, Bradley leaned in and whispered, "You realize people will be talking about this for years, right?" Emma just laughed. Let them. I'm still trying to believe it happened. And so, in the annals of the chase history, Emma Hughes' one-word victory speech became almost as legendary as the win itself.